Hi, Holly Duckworth here. I get asked so often this question, how'd you get into all of this? And so I thought I'd just record the answer so that you can better know my origin story, how I got into all of this, and maybe that'll help explain some of my perspective. It is important to understand, and my short answer when people ask me that question, how'd you get into all of this, is like most people, through tragedy. Most of us come into our spiritual awakening through something that just shakes our world beyond what we think it could have been shaken, and that helps us actually walk on our path of truth, our path of understanding, our path of purpose. And that's what happened to me. So how'd I get into all of this? Well, first let's talk about what is this. This being Dolores Cannon's quantum healing hypnosis technique. I'm a level 3 QHHT practitioner. I'm also a psychotherapist with a PhD in psychology. So a little bit of the psychology aspects. And it was actually the combination of those two and a very early interest in Carl Jung that had me really be very interested and very focused on studying the subconscious mind. So how'd you get into all of this? All of this is hypnosis, psychotherapy, and the subconscious mind. So how I got into it is many, many years ago, I was actually in the corporate world. My bachelor's degree is in mechanical engineering and my master's degree is in management. And I spent a lot of time in aerospace and automotive corporations in manufacturing roles. I was operations manager, quality director, quality engineer, Six Sigma black belt, Six Sigma master black belt. So I spent a lot of time studying processes, manufacturing processes, and how to optimize them both for quality and for productivity. So that's my early career. And what I recognized well into that career was that most of the opportunities for optimization wasn't with the robots and the machines, it was with the people. It was with the people that were involved in the processes. And that got me interested in studying people. And a few years into that, a few years of beginning to really focus on optimizing and helping people optimize their personal performance, their personal mastery, that I decided, well, I probably needed some credentials in that topic, and that's when I started studying for my PhD. I spent time in the corporate world with that focus in psychology, with those experiences and studies in psychology, doing things like leadership development, executive coaching, that kind of thing. So applying my psychology in a way that helped the people in those organizations that I was working in. And then about, the end of 2012, my son at the time, who was about 20 years old, he had an unfortunate incident and went to jail. It was a DUI kind of a situation. And he ended up going into a very dangerous situation, being incarcerated for 21 days. I was a nervous wreck. I was pacing the floor, I was crying, I was tearing my hair out. I was very, very, very concerned for his physical safety. He was in a situation where we lived in Phoenix at the time, and there were these tent cities where incarcerated people would all be put together, whether it was a very naive 20-year-old or murderers, rapists, all sorts of people together. I should have been concerned for his physical safety. It was an appropriate concern of mine. I couldn't visit him. I could only have occasional phone calls. And it was in one of these phone calls that he said, "Hey, Mom, I found this book in jail, and I think you might be really interested in it." And it was Dolores Cannon, Convoluted Universe, Book 4. Dolores wrote these huge, massive 400-plus page books in the Convoluted Universe series. There's 5 of them. And they're about all manner of metaphysical situations, metaphysical experiences from her clients. So I started reading Convoluted Universe, Book 4. Had never heard of Dolores, had no idea who she was, had no idea what I was getting ready to read. But I started reading that book, and everything that I had ever believed in my entire life was there in print, and I had never seen it in print before. I started devouring her books. All of her work resonated with me, as it does with most people. She wrote 21 books over her life, and they were basically researched through her hypnosis technique. And I started devouring her books after that. By the time my son got out of jail, I had read 5 of her books and was just reading all of them as fast as I possibly could. They were fascinating to me. So that was at the end of 2012. In early 2013, she was going to be having a weekend seminar. Dolores would put on these weekend seminars and put an entire hotel ballroom full of people into hypnosis simultaneously. She would do what she called her group regressions. And my son and I went to see her. I told my son, I'm like, let's go see her. Let's go be in the room with her. I was such a huge fan of her research and her writing by then. Of course, my son needed some healing. I needed some healing. We thought it would be a good thing for us to go off and have this little retreat for ourselves. So we did that. Now, mind you, I am a very analytic person, right? I just shared with you, I'm an engineer and an engineer at heart. And I didn't think this hypnosis thing was going to work on me. I was a huge proponent of Dolores's research and her work. I had questions for her about her research, but I really didn't think this hypnosis thing was going to work on me. It would work on other people, but not me. I was too analytical. So we get to that seminar and we get into the first hypnosis experience. And it was a past life regression that she was doing. And I had a profound experience. I mean, I was this other woman. It was not my imagination. I was living her life as if through her eyes, in every emotion, sights, experiences, smells. There was one scene that Dolores took us to, and I could smell the bacon cooking in the kitchen. So I lived this other woman's life all the way up to and including her death. That was a part of Dolores's past life regression process. And I was so excited when Dolores brought us out. I'm like, oh my gosh, this works. This really, really works. Like I'm going to walk up to the stage and tell Dolores Cannon, did you know this stuff actually works? She'd only been doing it for 30 or 35 years by that point. I think she knew it worked. I was the newbie, right? I was the newly convinced of how powerful this very simple but powerful and profound hypnosis experience could tap into the subconscious, the superconscious, consciousness, whatever you want to call it. It was profound. So that was in January of 2013. In February, I was in training to be a QHHT practitioner immediately. I'm like, I know what I'm doing for the rest of my life. This is so powerful. This is so amazing. This is exquisite, Dolores's technique. So I dove right in, and I knew what I would be doing for the rest of my life. And that's what I've been doing. Again, this interesting connection point between psychology, and an understanding of the subconscious mind, between hypnosis and tapping into that subconscious, but using kind of a metaphysical kind of approach like Dolores Cannon did. She figured it out by herself. She wasn't taught or trained to do what she ended up doing. Through over 30 or 40 years of experience, of practice, of experimentation, she found an amazing way to connect with consciousness through our human bodies. A way to get the ego self out of the way and tap directly into higher self. So I've now been practicing QHHT for over 13 years. I can't even begin to share all of the experiences, all of the profoundness that happens in a QHHT session. I've written 3 books myself already: Finding Purpose, Surprising Wisdom from the Higher Self. So this is a compilation of over 400 sessions and the answers to what is my life purpose. The second book, Finding Forgiveness, Surprising Healing from the Higher Self. So this is a healing process that I've seen the higher self do over and over and over again in QHHT sessions. So this is about kind of a how-to on forgiveness and how important forgiveness is to our physical healing, to our physical health. And then the third book, Finding Gratitude, Surprising Growth from the Higher Self. So this is this interesting pattern that I've seen from the higher self of how our state of being, specifically a state of being of living in a state of gratitude, not just something you do in a journal, okay, but a feeling that you, a vibration, a frequency that you actually manifest for yourself as a state of being, and how important that state of gratitude is to soul growth, to the reason for your incarnation in the first place. So that's the third book. So I continue on this journey with QHHT and helping people understand the subconscious limitations, and the higher self, consciousness, and understand how rich and how amazing this tiny blip on the face of eternity, a human incarnation, your human incarnation, my human incarnation, is to the grandness of the universe. So this is a little bit about me coming from a very, very strange way of arriving at metaphysics and psychology by way of engineering. And I hope that that helps you understand how I arrived at this very interesting career and juncture in my life. And I hope that I can help to transmit some of what I've learned to help you. And then as we begin to spread the light in the world, as we begin to release everyone from their limitations and understand how you're a spirit having a human experience, not a human having a spiritual experience, how you can connect to your grandness, to your light, and then spread that light to others. That's really my purpose, and that's really what I hope to be doing when we work together. Thank you so much for all of your time and attention to listening to a little bit of my backstory today. Thank you so much.